Hi, this is Wishop, and this is a card reading for the February full moon, which we just had, and it will go through the new moon in Virgo, which will be March 5th, I think. So I will probably do a different video for the Mercury retrograde coming up because I think it's a big one. It's going to have a lot of interaction with Neptune during that time period, so I'll do a different reading on that. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say was to John Sabag, I'm not sure how to say your last name, who in the February 14th reading asked a question in the comments about yes or no queries with the Monty Farber karma cards. I'm going to do a separate video for that too. Thanks very much for the question. And I love yes or no questions, and I think they are a fabulous way to warm up a deck that you're new to really kind of reveal its personality and the way it will talk to you, kind of its tone of voice or sense of humor, so to speak. And I have some ideas for you on the karma cards. I think I know what he was getting at, but I also have a suggestion that hopefully will work with that deck for you, but also any other astrologically based deck. It's an approach that you could try for yes and no questions. So thanks very much for asking, and I'm looking forward to doing that video. But let's get to this one. This one I decided to do a kitchen sink approach, as I often like to do. I have a hoi polloi tarot card. Then I have one of my new Loteria cards that I've been reading, which you saw in the February 14th video if you caught that. That was a pick a set reading, so you can check into it anytime if you're interested. This is a Lenormand card because Loteria cards, like Lenormand cards, or at least that's how I read them, are best in combination. They really don't mean that much on their own without something to bounce off of. So I decided to put these two combo cards together and use them as a pair. And then I have the Uno card. I really love Uno cards as direction cards, almost like I would use I Ching to tell me which way to move, which direction to move, how fast to go, how much force to use, what areas of my personal resources to employ or to hold back. And I think that Uno can do a good job, or at least for me, that's kind of how I tend to like it. So I've got the cards ready to go. The last thing I wanted to remind people is that I have the playlist for each month, which I did for January, February, and March. And there's still a little time left in February and all of March, obviously. For each month, I did 7 different divinatory systems. And so people have been going through and really looking at the tea leaf reading for February, which has been so cool. I've really, it's been great. But I also have, in addition to that, 6 other methods. So if you find you want to know more or you'd like another bite at the apple, so to speak, pick one of the other methods in the playlist. I will try to remember. I'm going to see if I can just put them in cards in the corner so that you can see all the different methods there are. There's geomancy, tarot, Lenormand, playing cards. Sometimes I forget. Tea leaf reading. Wait. No, I can't. Now I can't remember them all. Anyway, oracle cards, and I know there's another one. I Ching, thank you. So anyway, there are all those methods. So if you are looking for a reading for the end of February and this one doesn't suit, or you would just like another look at it, or you'd like to check the March readings or see if the January reading suited you, you could go check that out. Anyway, thanks again to new subscribers, but of course, thanks to anyone who's viewing the video. Thank you very much for your likes and your comments, but just your time. I really appreciate it. So here we go. And the tarot card I'm going to use as sort of it's almost like a past or a characterization card. And I'm using the Uno as sort of like our advice card going forward. So let's go here. Oh, la campana, the bell, the tree. Okay. So in Loteria, the bell is a card that can ring to bring things out into the open, but it can also be an announcement of something. So you can think of it as wedding bells. It's not always wedding bells, but it's a wake-up call. Like the reason you would have wedding bells or church bells or bells of any type, right, would be to call somebody's attention. Come and get it, come to dinner, that kind of thing. And bells are used to make things sacred. They also clear the way for things. If you put a bell on a cat, it's because you're hoping that the noise will scare away the cat's prey, because you're tired of getting 15 lizards or mice a week, right? So the idea is that bells are also used in spiritual ceremonies, obviously, to clear out stagnant energy or old news. It kind of clangs around. They used to use similar things in the ancient world, like the Egyptian sistrums. They would use these clanging instruments to kind of make noise in their parades to let people know something important is happening. So when you see the bell and you think of it as a wake-up call, it can be a call to a parade that you really want to go to, or it can be the alarm bell on the side of your bed telling you, get up and get ready for work or school or whatever. It's always a wake-up call. It's always designed to shake you out of some state you're in into a new state. It's always designed to drive you into motion in some way, whether or not it's to scare away a ghost or to scare away a lizard, or it's designed to draw churchgoers or attendees into a sacred ceremony. It's designed to make you move. So the tree is always a great card in Lenormand. Well, pretty much always, but it's a sign of long-term health. It's a sign also of family. For me, it's a sign of your everyday life. For me, it's a sign very much tied to like the sixth house kind of issues. So your daily work, your daily living, the people in your daily existence, your family, things like that. And in this picture of the tree, it's really facing the sun because we got the sunflowers that are wide open. And it's interesting because the sunflowers are almost planted at the edge of this water. So with this tree picture, we have this beautiful image of sun and shade, of water and leaves, of really having all the pieces that are beautiful, just having all of the elements for a beautiful life. So where there's a wake-up call, it certainly could be a wake-up call about your health or your family or your everyday life. This is a message that I've received in other readings as well, some of the February ones, where it's saying, what is your everyday life like? And what do you want it to be? So if you think of it as a thing for your health, we say, oh, it was a wake-up call. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have some terrible incident or some, awful thing happen. It could just be that the wake-up call is your mental awareness. The bell rings, right? We talk about having an aha moment or an epiphany where you are looking at something tangible in your life, because I tend to think of the bell tied to very tangible kind of things. It rings in the air, so it has something to do with the mental realm, but it's made of metal. It's solid, right? It's substantial, and that's what allows it to ring. So I think of it as sort of an air and earth related kind of thing. So if you're getting a call in this way, it can be something that comes to your mind. It doesn't have to be some scary thing that happens. And it could also be a call towards something beautiful, a beautiful change in your everyday life, because this tree card is so lovely that there can really be the sense that something quite beautiful is being offered in your everyday life. I'll point out here that La Campagna, the number is 43, which adds up to 7, and the tree card is the 7 of hearts in the sort of playing card attribution. So for me, there is something of a, what do I want to say? It's one of these sort of, for lack of a better term, like a come to Jesus. Like, okay, what is it you're doing with some aspect of your life, with your health, with your job, with your daily relationships? This is really about how you spend your days, or the way you spend your time, or the way that you exert yourself, right? This is about the fruit that you'll be harvesting later on in the year. In the spring, the fruit trees blossom, and then if they're properly, I guess the word isn't exactly fertilized, it's what, pollinated, or I'm not quite sure, but then you'll get fruit from those trees later on in the year. So the idea is, right now there's something that you're setting the table for that you would like to bring fruit later on, especially because I'm looking at the tree. Tree, of course, can deal with issues of family tree, of ancestors. So it could be that there's a wake-up call regarding a family member and something that's going on in their day-to-day life, the way they're spending their time or investing their resources, or something with their health, that really becomes an opportunity for us to re-examine. So let's see what's going on here. Okay, 8 of Swords. So that would mean, I would think, coming from a place of limitation, but also 8 of Swords for me is often, it can be a card of initiation, it can be a card of examination. So in the case that we're dealing with health, it could be that you have a health test, like an exam, a test, something that you go through, and it provides a wake-up call. It provides information that you need. It makes clear something, or a health situation that causes people to gather around. Again, if this is a work situation, it could be that we're rallying the troops, so to speak, because there's been a situation where someone has been isolated. For me, the 8 of Swords can be a card of isolation. In the traditional Rider-Waite, you see a castle up on the hill in the background, and it sort of makes you wonder, with all these swords around this person, how did this person get here? And who planted their swords? And who was the person who tied them up and put the blindfold around them? And was it voluntary or involuntary? To me, the question of that can be open. 8 of Swords, for me, can also represent tests that you put yourself into. You decide you're going to have an examination. You decide you're ready to try for that job at the next level. So 8 of Swords can be a test. It can be an initiation. But it can be, if it's not one that you chose yourself, it can be a sense of isolation. So in that sense, you are separated perhaps from members of your family, or in the workspace, a person has ended up isolated from everybody else and is feeling like they're being scrutinized, like they're under inspection, like they're being audited or tested, like they're being harshly judged. I mean, there is really kind of a sense that these swords, as I see it, are being put there by other people. And can you see your way clear of those judgments? You know, can you escape, so to speak, that wall of judgment? So sometimes those are judgments or trials put in front of us because they are necessary to test us. And I mean in a technical way, right? I've got questions 1 through 10, multiple choice. I'm being tested. Each sword is a question. Sometimes they are exams or initiations of other kinds, but we're happy about them. Sometimes we're not happy about them. And if you're being put under scrutiny, under testing, you know, a testing situation, it may be that you are needing to send up the alarm, right? That a situation's going on and you need to ring the bell and let everybody know. Do you guys all know that this is what's happening here? That this person is being isolated, or I'm the person being isolated? Anyway, let's see what the Uno card has to say about it. Okay, so this would be a 9, which is a red 9. So for me, it would be fire. Oh, and it was this way, right? Yes, it was. Yeah, it's upright. Oh, sorry. So confused. Okay, so the red 9 would be like the 9 of fire, which symbolizes to me the completion of something, because 9 is a completion type number. The red of fire does seem to tell me it's initiative. I think of the fact that we've got this fire, which you might even think of as wands, right next to the tree. And it looks like this is the big blow up, in a way, that completes something, some period of testing. So you can think of this as a fire alarm. I really hope it's not a literal fire alarm in the red 9 upright, that we have a wake-up call with like a wildfire or something like that. That's definitely, that would be a more literal meaning than I typically do, because these are quite general readings. So you shouldn't, I don't think it's a great idea to look for super literal meanings in a very general reading, because it's just hard to be that specific when I'm not doing a reading for you directly. When I'm doing a reading for an individual, oftentimes it can get extremely specific, but that's because I was invited to do that and it makes sense, and you know, we're doing it on a specific question. But if I'm giving you a range of readings here, okay, it could be a fire alarm. And in this case, then that could be the idea of a situation with health that is alarming. You know, it could be upsetting. It could be something where you feel constrained. You feel like you're being tested by it. Yeah, I don't love that, but the tree is a sign of health, and it's a good one. And La Campagna brings joy in the end. So I feel like even if this is a test, it's something that you're getting done with. Even if it's an alarming situation, it's something that we're concluding, we're finishing up with. So let me see. I'm just going to pull one more card just because I feel like I'd like a little more here. Okay. So I got the Knight of Swords reverse. So the idea would be, whoops, if I can pull this, don't be too hasty. Obviously, this would be running this way. This would be running this way. Don't run that way. would say don't panic, which I don't know why. The readings lately, there have been a lot of don't panic moments, which is odd. But they've also been very good. They've talked about a lot of great stuff on the horizon. And things are going to get a little funny and weird with this Mercury retrograde. I think it could be weird in a beautiful, magical, spiritual way, but could be a little nutty too. And I just feel like here we are at this end of a testing period. But I think that you'll complete it. You're going to get to the other side of it. You're gonna, like if you think of this bell too, another way to think of it is the last call bell, right? And it's like last call on whatever this thing is, whatever the situation is that's been vexing you. So it could be a test, it could be something with health, it could be something with your day-to-day work, it could be something with a family member, which I know is pretty wide open. But there's a feeling when I get this red 9 that there's kind of like, just hold on a little longer, fight the fire a little longer, persist a little more, because you're almost to the other side of it. We've got this uncomfortable 8 and it's turning to a 9, right? And I just feel like, it's not easy. I don't think it's easy. I'm sorry it's not easier. But it looks survivable, which is the first most important thing. And the other thing is I still look for a transformation of this everyday life. I think it is changing in a really profound way. It's changing what your everyday life looks like. So if there are things you've been working on that you wanted to see changed, I think it's happening. So this is a bit of a long one, but thank you very much for watching. If you have questions, please put them in the comments. I'll do that yes or no video coming up, and I probably will do a separate one for Mercury retrograde with a lot of cards or different approaches so that we can really have a look at it from a few different angles. So, okay, that is it for now. Thanks again, and rock on with your bad selves.